Have you ever wondered if money has a life of its own? I'm not talking about paper bills or numbers on a bank screen, cold and emotionless. I'm talking about something alive, something that reacts to how you relate to it, something that senses your energy, observes your attitudes, and responds according to the respect, gratitude, or contempt you show. For many people, this idea sounds strange, almost absurd, but it was precisely this understanding that transformed the life of Florence Scovel Shinn and hundreds of women who followed her teachings. In the 1920s, Florence dared to challenge everything that society at the time believed to be true about money, prosperity, and a woman's place in the world. She brought a vision that, even nearly a century later, remains surprisingly relevant. Money is a living presence, and the way you treat it defines how it flows in your life. Imagine America in the 1920s. The country still felt the echoes of World War I, and the Great Depression was about to devastate millions of families. Banks were failing. People lost their savings overnight. Entire families faced hunger and uncertainty. Women, especially, lived confined to domestic roles, without a voice or financial freedom, taught to be content with little, not to question, not to dream. It was in this landscape of scarcity and fear that Florence emerged as a different voice, almost prophetic, bringing a bold message. Changing your financial life begins with your internal relationship with money. Before expecting external changes, you needed to learn to speak with it, to welcome it, to respect it as you would a loyal friend. Florence observed that most people treated money as an enemy or as something unattainable. Some feared it, believing it corrupted and distanced them from spirituality. Others pursued it with desperation, always as if it were insufficient, slippery, and unreachable. Few understood that for money to come closer, it was necessary to treat it like a living being, with care, recognition, and honor. If you mistreat yourself, money will mistreat you. But if you respect yourself, it will respond in kind, Florence taught. For women of that era, this idea sounded shocking, as it challenged everything they had been taught about modesty, sacrifice, and scarcity. But Florence knew that material scarcity was merely a reflection of the emotional and spiritual scarcity they carried within. She taught that speaking to money wasn't a symbolic or mystical act, but a practical, direct, and powerful gesture. By treating money as someone worthy of respect, you reprogram your mind and subconscious, creating a positive flow of energy that manifests in your life. Florence compared this practice to caring for a child. If you mistreat or ignore it, it pulls away. If you embrace and teach with love, it grows and thrives. Just as a friend distances themselves in the face of harsh words, money also withdraws when treated with contempt, fear, or ingratitude. To illustrate, Florence shared real stories of women who applied her teachings and transformed their lives. Margaret, for example, was a seamstress who earned very little and worried about every penny. Opening her wallet to see only a few coins left her anxious and discouraged. She constantly repeated, "Money never stays with me." When she began applying Florence's teachings, everything changed. Instead of complaining, she started holding each coin and saying, "You are my faithful friend. Thank you for being with me. Bring more of your family to visit me." A few weeks later, Margaret received a job offer to sew at an elegant shop in town, and her income tripled. For Florence, this wasn't coincidence, but the natural response of money to the energy with which it was treated. Another example is Sarah, a young widow with 2 small children who could barely put food on the table. Desperate, she sought out Florence in tears, saying she had lost all hope. Calmly and serenely, Florence instructed her, "Speak to money as if it were a protector. Welcome it into your life as you would welcome a faithful friend who wants to care for you and your family." Sarah began practicing daily, even with small amounts or a few coins. She repeated, "Money, I receive you with love. I know you desire my well-being and my family's well-being." Less than a month later, she received unexpected help from distant relatives and secured a stable job, ensuring support for her children. Rosa, who owned a small grocery store, lived humiliated and anxious when counting her coins at the end of the month. Each time she did this, she murmured words of resentment, repeating beliefs of scarcity. When she learned from Florence, she decided to completely change her attitude. Instead of cursing the coins, she began holding them and saying, "Thank you for being with me. You are proof that there is a flow that does not abandon me. You are the beginning of a greater harvest." A few weeks later, customers began appearing unexpectedly, and her sales increased significantly, transforming the grocery store in ways Rosa had never imagined. These examples aren't just anecdotes, but proof that money responds to the energy with which it's treated. Florence explained that the change wasn't magic, but the result of spiritual and mental reprogramming. When someone changes their perception of money, from enemy to ally, from scarcity to abundance, not only does their financial life change, but their entire reality aligns with this new vibration. She also emphasized the importance of letting money go with gratitude. Most people curse money when paying a bill, complaining and feeling pain at its departure. Florence said this was equivalent to treating a friend visiting your home as an unwelcome intruder. On the contrary, we must transform money's departure into an act of blessing, thanking it for the service rendered and wishing it to return multiplied. Sarah, for example, adopted this practice religiously. Whenever she paid a bill, she said, "Thank you for serving me. Go and return multiplied. Take me to the energy of love and return in the form of abundance." With this practice, debts seemed less heavy, and difficult situations began to resolve more easily. Another central point in Florence's teaching was invocation. Just as we call a friend to visit our home, we can also call money to enter our life. Not with pleading or desperation, but with confidence, dignity, and joy. She taught simple and powerful phrases, repeated daily. "Money, you are welcome in my life. I receive you as a divine blessing. Enter with joy and remain in harmony." For many women, repeating these phrases was like lighting an internal flame, generating faith and hope that slowly transformed their perception and reality. Florence always affirmed that speaking to money wasn't idolatry, but a form of subconscious reprogramming. The mind, according to her, is like an obedient child, ready to believe what is repeated with emotion. If every day you complain about lack of money, the mind registers this as truth and creates situations to confirm this belief. But by speaking to money with respect, gratitude, and joy, the mind begins to attract experiences aligned with this new vision, creating unexpected opportunities, increased income, and even gifts that arrive surprisingly. She reinforced that money is a reflection of the self-esteem and dignity of whoever receives it. "Money goes where it is loved, but flees from where it is feared," Florence said. To love money doesn't mean to idolize it, but to recognize that it is a channel through which the divine manifests in our life. By receiving money with gratitude, you strengthen your relationship with universal abundance, with the flow of life, with spirituality itself. Furthermore, Florence taught that these effects aren't limited to individual life. When a woman transforms her relationship with money, she inspires those around her. Each success story becomes a beacon, encouraging friends, family, and even strangers to adopt the same attitude, creating a chain of faith and prosperity. This is how a collective movement of abundance is formed, where each individual transformation contributes to the spiritual and financial growth of the entire community. Carmen was another woman who found profound transformation by applying Florence's teachings. Coming from a family where money was always seen as scarce and even negative, she grew up hearing phrases like, "Money isn't for us," or "We'll never have more than the basics." These words took deep root in her mind and shaped her perception of prosperity. When Carmen met Florence, she decided to break this cycle. She began invoking money as an ally, treating each bill and coin she received as a friend worthy of respect and gratitude. She repeated daily, "Money, you are welcome in my life. I receive you as a blessing. Enter and remain in harmony." Soon, opportunities that seemed impossible began to emerge: an unexpected scholarship, invitations to well-paid jobs, and later, the chance to become a teacher, multiplying the knowledge she had acquired. For Carmen, these changes weren't coincidences, but direct reflections of the energy she was emitting by treating money with reverence and love. Florence emphasized that money wasn't just a material resource. It was a language of the universe, a tangible expression of the flow of abundance that permeates life. Each time someone addresses money with gratitude, respect, and awareness, they are actually connecting with the divine source, with the greater design that governs all things. It's not about magic or superstition, but about a deep spiritual understanding. Everything you send to the world returns in equal measure. Thus, money becomes more than bills and coins. It becomes a messenger, an indicator of your alignment with prosperity, a mirror of your self-esteem and your capacity to receive blessings. Florence's practice was simple but powerful. Whenever money arrived, it was received with gratitude. Whenever it left, it was blessed. When it was lacking, it was invited back with confidence and dignity. This consistency generated an invisible movement, an internal reprogramming that, over time, altered external reality. Women like Margaret, Sarah, Rosa, and Carmen experienced concrete changes in their lives, not only in income or job opportunities, but in their emotional and spiritual relationship with money. Anxiety decreased, confidence increased, and fear of scarcity began to dissipate. Florence also explained that true transformation requires perseverance. Many people start the practice enthusiastically, but become discouraged when results don't appear immediately. She said, "Life responds in its own time, not yours, but if you persevere, the answer will come, and it will come multiplied." This point is crucial. Speaking to money isn't a formula to get rich overnight, but a path of gradual transformation that, when practiced with faith and consistency, leads to a life of greater abundance. And this abundance goes far beyond numbers in a bank account. It manifests in opportunities, relationships, health, inner peace, and emotional well-being. One of the most impactful stories Florence shared involved a woman named Eleanor. She worked temporary jobs, always struggling to pay the month's bills. Eleanor was trapped in a cycle of scarcity, constantly repeating, "I never have enough money. Life is always hard." When she began applying Florence's teachings, everything started to change. She held each bill with reverence, thanked for what she received, and wished for money to return multiplied. Over time, unexpected opportunities arose. More generous clients sought her services, old debts were settled without apparent effort, and new sources of income began to manifest. Eleanor realized the difference wasn't just in the money itself, but in the energy she emanated, in the openness of her heart, and in her trust in the universe's flow of abundance. Florence emphasized that gratitude was the key to activating money's flow. Most people receive money and feel guilt, fear, or anxiety, especially when spending. But instead of cursing money or lamenting its departure, we should bless and thank it. This creates a positive return cycle. The more love, respect, and gratitude you send, the more money returns multiplied. This principle is as simple as it is powerful. Money responds to the vibration you emit. If you vibrate fear, it hides. If you vibrate gratitude, it multiplies. If you vibrate dignity, it remains. Another essential aspect of Florence's teaching was visualization. She advised her students to imagine money as a living presence, almost human, that observes, feels, and responds to our attitudes. By visualizing money as a dear friend who enters and exits your life with joy and harmony, women began to establish an emotional and spiritual connection with it. Florence said, "When you change how you relate to money, it's not just your bank account that transforms. It's your entire life that begins to reflect the flow of divine abundance." This practice creates an energetic field of attraction, which alters both perception and the concrete opportunities that arise daily. Florence also taught that speaking to money was an exercise in reconciliation with one's own dignity and worthiness. Many people carry scarcity beliefs inherited from previous generations. Money is dirty, wealth is for the few, I don't deserve to prosper. These limiting beliefs block the natural flow of abundance. By treating money with respect and gratitude, you not only change your relationship with it, but also begin to undo centuries of conditioning, creating space for prosperity in all aspects of life. It's a process of deep healing involving mind, heart, and spirit. Florence's daily practice included small concrete actions. When receiving money, give thanks. When paying bills, bless. When feeling lack, invite money to return multiplied. There's no need for complex rituals or magic formulas. The power lies in consistency, sincerity, and the emotion you put into each gesture. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes, until this way of dealing with money becomes second nature, an automatic reflex of gratitude and trust. And from that point on, miracles begin to happen, not because the world changed, but because you changed your internal frequency, and the world responds to this new vibration. Florence also warned about the danger of immediate expectations. Many people expect instant results and become frustrated when they don't see immediate changes. She reminded, life responds in its own time, not yours. But if you persevere, the answer will come, and it will come multiplied. This is a crucial lesson for the modern audience, surrounded by quick promises of wealth and success. True financial transformation, according to Florence, is a gradual process that manifests first in the mind and spirit, and then reflects in material life. Florence's teaching isn't limited to the individual, it has a collective effect. When a woman changes her relationship with money, she inspires those around her. Each success story becomes a beacon, encouraging friends, family, and even strangers to adopt the same attitude. Margaret inspired Rosa, Rosa inspired Sarah, Sarah inspired Carmen. Thus, a chain of faith and abundance was formed, where each individual victory contributed to collective growth. Florence believed this was one of the greatest miracles of her practice, the creation of a community of women free from fear and connected to the spiritual power of prosperity. Another central point in Florence's teaching was the understanding that money is just one of many languages of the universe's abundance. It's not the final goal, but a means of aligning with the divine flow. When you treat money as a friend, you recognize that abundance is a natural right and not a privilege of the few. This transforms mentality, from scarcity to abundance, from fear to trust, from guilt to gratitude. Each bill, each coin, becomes a symbol of opportunity, dignity, and spiritual connection. To make these teachings practical, Florence suggested simple but powerful daily exercises. One was invocation, imagining money arriving like a dear friend who enters your life with joy and remains harmonious. Another practice was active gratitude, thanking for money received and blessing what goes out. And finally, conscious invitation, calling money back when it's lacking, with confidence and dignity. These practices create a profound change in the mind, heart, and external reality. Florence also taught that each thought of scarcity is an obstacle to abundance's flow. Phrases like, "I never have enough money," or "money slips through my hands," create negative mental programming that manifests in reality. On the contrary, phrases of gratitude, recognition, and welcoming of money reprogram the mind to attract prosperity. It's a simple principle, but with profound effect. Money goes where it is loved, but flees from where it is feared. The impact of these practices goes beyond financial life. Women who apply these teachings report changes in self-esteem, confidence, and decision-making ability. Money becomes a reflection of one's relationship with oneself. When a person values themselves, they treat money with respect, and vice versa. Florence called this spiritual reconciliation, aligning mind, heart, and energy so that the flow of abundance can manifest fully. She also reinforced the importance of sharing the teachings. When a woman learns to treat money with respect, she becomes a source of inspiration for others. This propagation of positive energy creates a multiplying effect. An individual action generates a collective impact, transforming lives and communities. Florence saw money as an instrument of change, not only personal, but social. If this message touched your heart, if you feel these teachings awakened in you a new way of looking at life and money, I invite you to take action today. Like this video, leave your comment below, share with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe to the channel to continue receiving inspiring teachings from Florence Scovel Shinn and other masters of prosperity. Just as Florence's students inspired each other to transform their lives, you too can inspire those around you. Your transformation can be the spark that ignites hope in someone else's life. Together, we can create a movement of abundance that crosses borders, generations, and proves that when money is treated as a friend, it becomes a channel of infinite blessings.